In between the two is the ring of classic physical surveillance, what can be known of us by eavesdropping and long-lens cameras and by mobile secret surveillance teams. We used to be able to ward off that kind of surveillance, however good their map reading and teamwork, by going home. If you wanted to listen in, you needed a warrant, because it was established as English common law in 1628 by Sir Edward Coke, Attorney General when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament, that a home was a person's castle. When I was growing up, anyone peering in through the window of a house was at best nosy, and at worst a peeping Tom. Now, though, we've invited the outside world inside in the most spectacular and absolute way, making the walls porous by admitting Amazon, Google, Apple and the rest to entertain, observe and study us in what would just a few years ago have been very private spaces. If surveillance has serious downsides, is that a crisis? Or is it possible to tame the digital gaze and be at home with the all-seeing eye? Guy, possibly or possibly not his real name, lives in South London, or maybe north, west or east. He knows that his home is constantly streaming data to servers which know exactly who he is and where he lives.
I've got pretty much everything hooked up to the internet, obviously, from my TV to... I've got a server down there which, allows me to access files and photos and music when I'm out and about on my mobile phone. Then the Sky Q box will send the programs that I record around the house. Sonos bar is all connected so you can stream your music. I can stream my music here and play the same thing in my bedroom if I'm having a party and put multiple speakers around the house. But the system that I've got installed, and I've just got the camera to check out, it's called Hive, and so that allows me, I get an alert on my Apple phone and my Apple Watch, as I did tonight. When I'm I think it's about a mile away from the house, it recognises automatically and then says, your home is set to 7 degrees, would you like to turn it on, would you like to turn the heating on? And then I have Alexa just over there, she's already come on, so I can say, tell Hive to boost heating.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so she didn't recognise it that time. Alexa, tell Hive to boost heating.
Sure, I have boosted your heating for 1 hour at 22 degrees.
Guy has wired his house to make it more of a machine for living in. It does what he tells it to, mostly, and he knows more about what's going on in the house when he's out and when he's asleep than he otherwise could.
Well, I really like being on sort of the cusp of new technology. With the new iPhone's just launched, I actively want to be the person with the new iPhone, because I think I was thinking about it. It's sort of, for some people, it's cars, right? Certain people wouldn't want to drive, say, a Skoda, but they would want to drive a BMW. And I want to have the latest iPhone because technology is really important to me.
Does it, as it were, complete an identity for you? You put the new iPhone in your pocket, it triggers Hive for you and so on, or Hive triggers on you, and you feel, yes, this is me.
Yeah, I've had some really good experiences with tech recently. I had a physical about a month ago, and I was talking to my doctor, and he was saying, you need to do a couple of things, introduce a bit more vigorous activity into your life. And so, I've got some scales now which are tracking my weight and how much I'm losing, and they actually do a lot of stuff. They'll send pulses, I don't fully understand how it works, but foot pulses through my body to check what's called my cardiovascular health. So, it allows you to track so much data, and a lot of it, I'll admit, I don't fully understand, but you can see the trend and when I'm getting healthier. And actually, I've found in particular wearables they just gently nudge you towards just living a slightly healthier lifestyle. So I've just come back tonight, I've cycled 10 miles, I've closed what's known as the activity rings on my watch, and I feel a bit better about that. And I get little nudges on my watch about sort of being mindful as well, which is something else I've taken on board. So I'm quite positive about it.
But the phone doesn't, for example, dob you into your doctor if you don't do enough exercise.
Well,
or the system doesn't.
No, it can do. It's actually up to you. I was doing organised this through my work, and the reports I was getting from my doctor were very, very detailed. I got a text from him saying you can share as much as you, or as little as you feel comfortable with. So I might have lied to my doctor about how much weight I lost over the last month or so, a little bit, but that's, between me and my doctor.
Actually, it's just occurred to me, having gathered all this data, and there are presumably lots of people who are doing this, would you consider then giving it to the NHS afterwards for their study?
I would be quite happy sharing that with my doctor, as long as it's kept private. But actually, I think that's the point where you start to worry about it, just because government organisations in particular seem to not have their systems locked down. I actually worry more about, like I say, government organisations like the NHS getting hacked than I do from, I guess, Hive or my central heating system.
So you're sort of comfortable with sharing this data as long as you're, as it were, as long as it stays within your boundaries?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with sharing data anonymously and sharing data anonymously with most companies, whether it's on my phone or whether it's Google servers in my email. You understand you get some great services online like Google that will allow you to, Google accesses my email and in turn it tells me if I need to leave at a certain time because it knows I've got a meeting at 10 a.m. And that's quite clever, and I'm quite happy to not pay money for that in exchange for them being able to gather data which allows them to provide better services. I'm comfortable with that. But I think the amount of data and the amount of stuff that is being gathered on people is kind of getting quite scary now, and there are organisations out there like Google and Apple that are able to build up quite, Facebook in particular, very complete profiles on people, and then that data is so valuable to advertisers.
In George Orwell's 1984, as in Stasi East Germany, surveillance and sorrow went hand in hand. Guy and many others are quite comfortable with surveillance as a service. They feel perhaps that so long as they own the camera, control continues to reside with them. But are they holding the reins, or are they seduced by shiny toys which betray them to an invisible master? I keep coming back to those rings of surveillance. Guy is happy with handing over data so long as it stays to some extent within his walls. Not literally inside his house, but still within limits he defines. Alexa has to send every single voice statement to Amazon's cloud in order to understand him, and incidentally, that microphone is open all the time, but that doesn't trouble him so long as the boundary he shares with Amazon is intact. On the same basis, he's also content to share medical data with the NHS, assuming they can hang on to it and it only goes a certain distance and can't be traced back to him. To some extent, Guy is transparent and happy to be so. If modern life is going to be this way, and there's a lot of money riding on the idea that it will, surely his attitude is the healthy one. A certain amount of information will leak from us into the world, either to the government or commercial entities, and that's inevitable, and not really something we need to worry about all that much.